Hey guys and gals, welcome back to another Gemini Scale Model Works video. Hi, I'm Vinny and I will be your host. This is going to be a requested video by one of my subscribers, both on this channel and my other channel. His name is Larry. He wants to know how to wire a layout. Well, there's two ways to do wiring on a layout, and a lot of you model railroaders already know this, but for my car guys that are in this community now, they want to know. So, I am going to be showing you a little clip of a train running on my layout, my new layout, very early on in stages, running with only two wires hooked up to the track. And you're saying to yourself, big deal, I could do that with DC. Yes, you can. But can you run two trains in opposite directions with DC? I don't think you can. Not unless you have a bunch of toggle switches. And I'm going to show you how all of this happened. So, let me show you this little clip, and I'll show you where the two connections are, and then we'll continue on from there. So stay tuned and enjoy the video. We'll be right back. That being said, my buddy is going to get a lesson in DC first, and then we'll move on to DCC, and I think this might be two videos. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how intense I get in the DCC part, because it's way more complicated than DCC, I'll tell you that right now. Anyhow, with all of that being said, let's go down to my work area. And I have some drawings and some other stuff that we're going to go over. And the power supply that I am referring to in this video is going to be this guy. This is the one I have used, and let me tell you something. MRC, and I know they make other stuff, but MRC in this part of their business was awesome. I have used that power supply for 15 years. It was so abused that the two halves weren't even screwed together anymore. I burnt out one of the, I think it was the green LED, so I tried to replace an LED in there and it didn't work, and so on and so forth. But as far as running the trains, I never had an issue with it. So, when I say DCC power supply, this is what I am referring to. Okay, so now let's get down to the work area and I'll show you what's going on. We'll be right back. Okay guys, as you can see in front of you right now, I have a very simple drawing of an oval track and the power supply here. Before we get started, I want you to take a look at the picture in the right hand corner and take a look at the terminals on the back of the power supply I showed you previously. You can see that on the far left, covered by the wire, it says variable DC. The next two over say accessories AC. And then the final one says fixed DC. The accessories and the fixed DC you can use for lighting, for powering up switch track motors, or whatever. What we are going to be concerned about is the variable DC, which is this way. Come on, come on, come on. And up, 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 up. Right there, these two right here at the end. So, when I say positive and negative, that's what we're going to refer to. And I'm going to show you now how we're going to do this. This is an oval track, okay? And let me move this over a little bit. There you go. That's better. Train is going in a counterclockwise direction. This is just arbitrary. So now, this is our power supply. We're going to take, I'll just come out the side. Yeah, we'll come out the side here. The red will be the positive. And now, the black will be the negative. That little hoop means it goes over the track. Now, what we'll do here is we'll do a positive and a negative. Okay, and we're going to do that all the way around the track. Positive until it gets back here. Okay, and the same thing. And so now you're running a train and it's going this way and you're really happy. Wow, you got a train going and you got all kinds of scenery going on in here and blah, 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 blah. Now, a friend comes over. Well, let me back up a minute. You could run, now these are DCC locomotives. The way you would buy them, most stores will sell DCC or DCC ready. Either way, you can use it on this track plan, okay? So, you could take 2 or 3 of the locomotives, and you can actually turn one around and run it backwards, and it'll run in that direction. Now, your friend comes over, says, hey, I want to run a train too. Oh no, now we got a situation because you can only run one train at a time. That is not true. And we'll move on to the next page and I'll show you why. So stand by and we will be right back. Okay, boys and girls, we are back and this is going to be scenario number 2. Your buddy is now here. He has a power supply all of his own. You have a power supply all of your own. And now you're going to add another element, and that element is going to be this guy right here. And that is a double pole, double throw toggle switch. Okay? And what that's going to do is select either Power Pack A or Power Pack B to run the layout. That's fine and dandy. Okay? So now, let's say we got Power Pack A switched. Bada bing, right? So it goes from here to here. So now I have power coming out. And this is a little mistake right here. It should be the inside rail. I just didn't draw it very clearly. So now, da-di-da-di-da, you're running the train around, circle, da-da-da-da, and Power Pack B says, hey man, I want to run a train. So he flips the switch down. Now he's controlling the entire track. Now, Power Pack A says, I want to run along with you, Power Pack B. So how does that work? Okay. So now, a little bit more intensity in this DC system is you have to do a break. And depending on how big your layout is, will depend on how many circuits you want or districts you want or whatever. Okay, boys and girls, what I've shown you so far is pretty basic. 2 power packs, 1 toggle switch, and an oval track. The problem with that is only 1 power pack can control the entire layout all at one time. So, to avoid that problem, we have the situation I'm going to show you next. But before we do that, I want to show you my buddy John over at the Santa Fe Paradigm Division came up with this idea of calling it a polarity car. And what it does is, on my layout I'm using the green and yellow. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but this would be sitting on the track the way you see it. So the rail that's on this side would get yellow wire, and the rail that's on this side is green wire. So as long as it stays on the track, it can go around the entire layout, and I would never make a mistake. If it falls off, you just put it back on. Make sure you have it on the right way and just continue on. Okay, so another thing I mentioned in the previous clips is that the train was going in one direction. That's not true either. Each power pack has a direction switch. So if I want to go forward, I flip it one way. If I want to go backwards, it goes the other way. The situation is now districts. If you want to have A and B running two trains separately, you have to have these districts. Okay, and these districts are controlled by double pole, double throw, toggle switches. These switches here are single pole, single throw. They're just on and off switches. That's basically all they are. So, Power Pack wants to control the entire layout right now, so he would switch his on-off switch to on, and he would send power to all these toggle switches, and it would be standing by until this switch is thrown. So, I don't know which way is going to control the power going out to the track. Well, let's just say it's down. So I would flip this switch down, 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 and I would be controlling the entire layout. Now, this guy comes in and he switches. Once my train leaves this district, he can switch this switch to the up position, and he'd be controlling that section. And so it's follow the leader, basically. Every time a train gets to a section, got to flip the switch, got to flip the switch, got to flip the switch. When using DCC, all of that gets eliminated. And I will show you that coming up here pretty soon. So stay tuned and we'll see what else we can get into. Okay guys, welcome back to my work area. This is an N-scale locomotive. It is made by this company called Kato, Japanese brand. And as far as locomotives go, this is one of my favorites. It's an SD40-2. To me, it's one of the best locomotives that I have seen. There are lots of pretty locomotives out there, but this SD40-2s are my favorites. This happens to be a Union Pacific. I'm not doing a prototype anymore, so I have various different companies that are going to be on my layout. Anyhow, I mentioned earlier that we've actually installed a computer chip in these locomotives. And this is what a computer chip looks like. Okay, this is not for this locomotive. This is for another company locomotive, which is Atlas, is another company. But right there, you can see the brains of the outfit. Okay, so most of these are really easy to install, especially on these Kato or Kato locomotives, and I'll show you why. Because all you need to do, you separate the body off of the chassis, and this is a light board. Well, what I just showed you with that computer chip replaces the light board. Like I said, that one is not for this locomotive, so I can't show you actually how to install it. Maybe in a future date I'll show you how I install it. These are simple. Pull it out, put the new one in, and you're done. Okay. Now, put this back together. Snap it in there. No screws, nothing. It just pops in, pops out, pops in, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me get that guy up there. And they come really nicely packed, as you can see. Now, let's continue on. How do we make the train go? Well, instead of a power pack, you're going to have a command station. And that command station is this guy. This is an old unit, DCS 100. This has got, I think, 5 amp output. If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember. It's been a long time. I had this thing since I've been in this house, which is 13 years. I also mentioned to you guys that the wiring on my layout was green and orange. So these two terminals will go out to the track, and I'll show you a diagram on this also. I can program my locomotives on here. Now what I mean by program is there is a app, I forgot what it's called. Oh God, I'll remember that later. But anyhow, you can talk to your locomotives via your computer using this guy. So what I would do is I would plug one of these ports into one of these ports, give it the power supply, and also there's a spot, yeah, right here is where it hooks up to the computer. Once you do that, you can talk to your locomotives via that computer chip I just showed you. But let's say you don't have it, if you don't want to do that, okay, so it's pretty basic. Out to the track, power supply for this guy, and then again, if you want to, the locomotives, I'll back up for a minute. When you put a computer chip in here, you need to give it an address, so the computer knows how to find this locomotive. Okay, so if I was to put a chip in this one here, I would give it the number 3401, which is the locomotive number. So now, once I do that, I would take the mama throttle. This is the boss. You do everything with this. You program and add and subtract locomotives via this. Once you get your locomotive on the track and you'll hit program on here. I even forgot where it's at. It's been so long. Here it is right here. You hit program, and it'll ask you what you want to do, what type of address do you want, a two-digit address or a 4-digit address. Well, I'm using only 4 digits, so I put the 4-digit in here. So, now that we see how we can get the trains to move, let me show you how we get all of this situated. So now we've seen that. This gets mounted on the fascia of your layout. This now, and I know the lock on this is broken, plugs into there, okay, and plugs into the back of this guy, and then you plug your throttle into there, and you're ready to run a train, providing you have the number of the train in here. And with this throttle, this particular throttle, you could run 2 trains at 2 different times. Now, when we get down to a drawing, I'm going to show you what the differences are between this and the DC layout. Now, this also could run infrared. I could put this up in the room somewhere where I can see it all the time. With this guy, I can use infrared because you see the emitter right there. So around the layout, if I have a couple of people in the house, we have utility throttles. And basically all they can do is run the train forward and back, and they would punch, well, there's no punching here, this is direct dial of the engine number that they want. And if it's already being used by somebody, they have to hit steal and then put that number in there. And then I would be controlling the locomotive that Joe Schmo was controlling a while ago. Alright, so basically that's it for DCC. Now, don't get me wrong, there could still be a whole bunch of wiring on this. Like I said, what we do with this is we will bring it out to a single point, and we will hook up on one of those terminal strips that I was talking about previously. And then from there, we would wire out to the track, wherever it's got to go. There is no plus or minus on here. It's actually a signal. If you measure voltage, I think there's like very low voltage, like maybe 2 volts or something like that. It's very, very low. It relies on this guy finding the locomotive and letting him get powered up. Now, when I get down to the diagram, I'm going to show you what total difference it is from this system to a DC system. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, boys and girls, we're back down at the bench right now, or work area. I call it my bench. If you remember in the last video, to get 2 locomotives to run, this is what you had to do with all of these switches. You had to flip all of these switches just to make your locomotive go around the track. Well, DCC is a little bit different. I'm going to show you here in a second what the wiring diagram looks like. You ready? Don't fall off your chair now. Okay, here we go. Ta-da! That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, depending on the size of your layout, you're going to want to put other feeder wires in there just to keep the track consistent. I'll call it voltage. It's not really a voltage. To keep the consistency going through the track, because the DCC system relies on the track to send the signals to the locomotives. Now, here's a for instance. The command center, oops, come on, is this guy, okay? And on the front here I have terminal, which is terminal A or B, and then I have loco. Loco means LocoNet. It's a copyrighted thing for Digitrax. They developed it. It's where the command station could talk to a whole bunch of different stuff. Like I said earlier, talk to your computer and all of that kind of stuff. And what I'm calling the panel is this guy. Now these 2 wires back here are for track status. You don't have to hook those up if you don't want to. Alright, so let me get this stuff out of the way. Now we have 2 locomotives sitting here. Okay? And let me see, maybe I should turn on the other camera so you guys can get a really pretty view. Hang on, guys. Yeah, I know there's no card. I don't need a card. Okay. So, 2 locomotives, and I said on the previous one, in order to run this, Power Pack A had to run this one with a insulator joint right here, let's say, and so he'd be able to run this guy, and then I would run this guy until I got to this joint that I would have to flip a switch, right? Okay, so now I want to run the same 2 locomotives on the same piece of track, okay, And what I'm going to do is I will program this locomotive to this throttle. Oops. That's not nice. And I will program this one to this throttle. Now, we say, okay, Santa Fe, get going. So Santa Fe turns up his throttle and he starts to move. Now, he wants to go. Remember, we're on the same track. I didn't do nothing, no switches, no nothing. So I take this guy and I turn him up. And this guy goes. But wait a minute. I don't want to go that way. I want to go the other way. So I hit the direction switch, coupling. And this guy starts going this way. This guy's still sitting there. And that's the whole thing in a nutshell. So, in my opinion, if you can afford to get a DCC system, it is so much easier and so much more fun. Like I said, I and a lot of other people that are in this particular hobby community with the model railroading like to run our trains at scale speed. And so we actually have, and I'll show you this at another time, maybe when it's actually on my layout, when I have my layout running, we actually have a speedometer that we put over the locomotives, and as the locomotive passes through it, it breaks an infrared signal that's in there, and it measures the time it takes to go from one end to the other end, and it gives you an actual scale miles per hour. Anyhow, there's really nothing more I can say about DCC. I mean, there's so many things you can do with the throttle and your computer. Like I said, you can adjust the speed. They have a graph that you can adjust each individual speed step. There's 28 speed steps. 28 or 128, both of those. So 28 will cut down how many times you turn the throttle, will increase the speed. The 128 will cut that down a lot. So the slightest little turn will get the locomotive to go slower. Anyhow, I really don't know what else to say. I mean, there's plenty of accessories that you can get for this, same as the DC, but these are all computer, like I can get motors for the turnouts, okay? And I can control the motors, the switching, from here. Okay, guys, so far, I hope you understand what's going on with wiring the layout. Now, theoretically, as you saw at the very beginning of this video, I was able to run a train with 2 wires hooked up on the entire layout. And I got lucky on that because I depended on the turnout points, which are these guys here that move back and forth. Let me move this so you can see that. And it makes contact here, or it makes contact here, whichever way you have the turnout thrown. But you have to rely on this point right here or this point here to conduct the electricity to go through the track. DCC is very sensitive to dirt, so if any little dirt or any little corrosion gets in between the point and the rail, you lose connectivity. So how I wire my layout is I wire all 6 rails. So I know that power coming in, no matter which way the points are thrown, I will always have power going through. I hope you all understand that, and the reason why I'm doing this video is because the next step on my layout is to actually be doing the wiring. And I want to give you guys an idea of what is going on and how I'm going to be doing it. So, with all of that being said, hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video, and as always, your questions, comments, inputs, subs, shares, and likes are always welcome. For now, that's all, folks. Gentlemen, I Scale Model Works out for now. Toodles!